Speakers are on. Good morning, Jimmy. How are you?
Jimmy.
All right. You guys ready to go?
Ready to go, sir?
All right, good morning. Welcome to the budget meeting. We don't need any comments from previous council. Welcome, guys. You guys for coming. All right, I'm gonna turn this, first of all, I have a conflict, June the 11th, and I have a meeting in Florida that's gonna be challenging for me to get out of. Are you guys okay moving the meeting from June the 11th to June the 13th on Thursday?
No objection? No
Everybody good?
Do we
All
need
right,
to make a
good.
motion?
I don't think so.
No?
So Emily, if you'll make that note?
No, don't make a motion
Okay.
today.
Okay.
We'll put it on the agenda at the next meeting.
Okay, very good. So meeting's been moved to June 13th.
Mayor, would you do the pledge?
I sure will. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Was that your welcoming statement?
It was, yes, sir. Welcome, everyone.
Well, council, today is the proposed budget that staff is proposing to you for consideration. We delivered you a printed draft budget, and it was put online as well. I think we did that Monday. I would like to recognize Steve Smith, our finance director, is here. He and I should be able to at least attempt to answer any questions you have, but we seek some direction today at the end of the meeting on several items so that we can produce a final draft that you will then have before you on the 14th of May. And the way it's set up, the 14th of May is the first time the public has an opportunity to comment on the budget. And then we'll make adjustments as need be until we get to the June 13th meeting, which there'll be another public hearing, and then we'll adopt the budget. So let me start off at least for the purpose. So we're presenting our draft budget to you today. The budget was put together based on assumptions that you gave us on January 25th, where we had a budget meeting. You told me to keep the tax rate at 0.65 cents per, or 0.65, which is 65 cents per hundred. You told me to keep the employee benefits the same. That included a 50% dependent coverage. You told me to use the cost of living adjustment of the January CPI. We have done that. And you asked to include a merit increase. And if you recall, I asked to come back to you today and discuss that. We've done that. On March 28th, we met, and you had the presentation of the financial model that gave you mostly an overview of the CIP, capital improvement plan, but more importantly, our fund balance and our unassigned fund balance. And at the end of that meeting, there was discussion about using fund balance to fund some of the one-time capital improvement program. And I asked you for the opportunity to come back to you today to do that and keep our fund balance no lower than 50%. And at the end of today, based on what we do with the CIP, we've accomplished that. And then we had a discussion on the old Public Works facility. The discussion you had and the direction I received was to plan to relocate it with a new salt storage building somewhere else. And I asked for about $160,000 to do that. That is in the budget, and we don't have plans to renovate the old Public Works building. So the budget you have in front of you does that.
But however, there is a $500,000 in here for the renovation of the public works.
It's shown as on the CIP, but it's not funded.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll have a substantial discussion on the CIP after we go through the operational piece. So that's a good lead-in. So the budget before you is in two pieces. I've given you an operational budget. What does it cost to operate the town with the existing services, those assumptions that I just gave you, going forward? It does not include capital improvement. So that's the second piece of the book that I gave you, was the capital improvement plan, and we need to have a discussion on that. If you recall from the March meeting, the plan called for $2.9 million in capital improvements, and I gave you my opinion that we can't afford that. And I'm coming to you today, to ask for substantially less than that, about $597,000 worth of capital improvement. That'll be that discussion later on today. So right now I want to talk about operational, if that's good. So if you go to page 58 in your proposal, and that's the general fund summary. Steve's put tabs on your book, and we all have the same book, so we're all on the same page. So page 53, and it should be titled General Fund Summary. And basically what this does is give you a picture of the entire operational budget. Did everybody find that page?
Yeah, 1 second.
All right.
Page 53?
53 of
Yes.
119.
Yes, sir.
And it's titled General Fund Summary. So if you look at that, the first line is what we anticipate revenue. So in front of this page in the book, you'll find a total revenue section, a debt section, and then an expense section. And this page summarizes that so that we don't have to flip through page after page after page. We certainly can, and if you've got line items in specific departments, we can go through that. But what I wanted to do was do the review of the budget here. So the first row is general fund revenue, and those numbers correspond to the numbers in the front of the book under revenue of $11,518,068. Everybody see that?
Yes.
If you go all the way to the bottom, under total expenditures, miraculously, I have the exact number for the expenditures. That's because we're required by law to produce a balanced budget. So what you see is a balanced budget that meets the requirement. What you don't have in this is the capital improvement. We're talking operations. So if you go through each department, administration, tax collection, visitor center, police, fire, etc., you'll see what their departments totaled up. You'll also see in the 2024 budget, which is the budget we're in now, what was accounted for, what was budgeted in the current budget we're at today. So today the budget stands at $11,278,193. We're in the midst of that budget. And we're proposing to go to $11,518,068, which is a $240,000 increase in operations if you do the math. And you'll see that there's no variance because we don't have the CIP in there. If you would, I'd like you to, let's talk about general before we go to specifics. So far, any questions on that? Just so we're on that same page.
Can you explain what the variance is?
At the bottom?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the variance is literally the difference between revenues and expenditures. So a bracketed number, as you see in 2022, that was a negative number.
Right.
In 2023, it's almost $1 million of positive number, and currently in this budget, we're at $271,800. $271,800. So the column year to date, I asked you not to spend a lot of time there. That just says as of 2/29, where were we? And because a lot of our expenditures occur in this quarter of the budget, the fourth quarter of the budget, we do a lot of work. We're doing paving. That number, although it gives you a snapshot what it was 1st of March, don't spend a lot of time there because those numbers have already exponentially gone up because we're doing a whole lot of work right now in the springtime. So let's talk about employee benefits first. The COLA, which is a cost of living adjustment. A COLA is not a raise. I think it's important for me to tell you that. The attempt is to keep the employee's salary at the same level of buying power. cost of living. We had talked about using the January number. January it was 4.7 CPI for our area. I'm proposing a 5% COLA for next year. We have no idea what the future brings, but we have to budget it for a year, so that's what I'm proposing. I'd like to talk about longevity now. Councilman Villanova asked, and I think Councilman Stanford asked for a merit increase. So, and that's great. That rewards our employees who are doing arguably above, above and beyond. I've been doing this for a long time, 50 plus years, and merit increases, even though they sound good, they don't work, and they cost quite a bit of money. And let me talk about why they don't work. We're proposing a merit increase as a benefit, as something positive for your employees. So to do it right, which it rarely is done right, but to do it right, if you'll think of a bell curve of your employees, number of employees, by definition, 50% don't get a merit, shouldn't. And then on the other side of the bell curve, the other 50% do in incremental amounts. So, some people get maybe 1%, some get 2%, some get 3%. So that's how traditional merit works. In government, typically, a merit means an across-the-board increase. It's not applied as merit-based. It's applied as, if it's 1 to 3, everybody gets a 3. That's not what it's meant to do. And it becomes a negative because 50% of your employees don't get a raise, and if you ask them, they think they should. And the other 50% get a raise, but they don't get they get the sliding scale. They don't get what they think you should have given them. So what we've done is we've taken a whole lot of money and we've put it into the employees as a positive, and it's a net negative. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So my experience is they don't work and it's expensive. And then from a management perspective and budgeting perspective, those dollars compound. Now, what do I mean by that? If you give a merit, you're increasing the base salary of the employee. So if I make $50,000 a year and you give me a 5% merit, so now I got $2,500, so now I'm making $52,500. Every raise, pension, anything that's based on base salary is compounded forever into the future. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Retirement, things like that. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's good for the employee. It's not necessarily good for the taxpayer. So if I've got a net negative program it's negative to the taxpayer, my recommendation is we don't do it. Now, I don't want to leave money on the table for the employees either. So what we would like to propose is changing the longevity plan. The longevity plan is simply, it's a one-time annual payment. It doesn't compound. It's not built into the base salary. And what it does is it's meant to reward employees to stay here and have longer tenure. That's the purpose of the plan.
Is it like a year-end bonus?
Well, we pay it in the spring. It's not it's like budget end. Mm-hmm. But currently the system is based on a set amount of money based on how many years you're here. So if you're here 1 to 5 years, you get $250. Mm-hmm. And I've got it here, but I'm not going to quote it exactly. It's a lump sum based on how many blocks of years you've been there. And again, the current system, in my opinion, is not purpose. Again, we're spending money on what's supposed to be a positive, and it's at least neutral. In some cases, it's a net negative. Now, why is that? If I'm a $30,000 employee and I'm here 5 years, I get my $250. So that minus taxes, but let's talk in lump sum. So that's a benefit to that $30,000 a year employee of $250. If I'm a $60,000 a year employee, been here 5 years, I get the same $250. It's worth less, percentage-wise, to that employee. As we go up through the years to 20 years, I've got it here, I need to look at it, 20 plus, we have it at 5, 10, 15, and 20 plus. It becomes less of a benefit to the employee the longer they're here and the higher their salaries are, which is usually what happens. The longer you're here, your salary goes up, and now your lump sum benefit is a negative. What I would like to do is take the similar amount of money that you might be willing to put in towards merit and turn it into a percentage based on the time and grade of your benefit, of your longevity benefit. I think we spend the same amount of money relatively, because we haven't really pinpointed that down yet. But for argument's sake, we spend the same amount of money, it doesn't compound, and it rewards our employees truly for their tenure in time and grade, and it pays more the longer you're here and the more money you make. The cost is the same, will be the same to the taxpayer. The benefit to the taxpayer is it will not compound, it doesn't add to the salary base. And I think it's a net positive to the employee. So I want to have that discussion with you. If you really want me to do a merit, I will. We'd like to put some numbers together between now and in the next 10 days to get it to you on revising the longevity, and spend about the same amount of money.
So at this time, there is a longevity program in place? And,
Yes,
and it's funded every year, or
Yes.
has been?
yes.
So why don't we just continue doing that? I mean, why are we looking to do something other?
Well, I think the reason the driver was employee retention.
Right.
And so we were trying to make sure that, the town doesn't lose key people based on the fact that they're not getting, their compensation packages don't align with our competitors. And we may never be able to do that with some of the bigger cities that we were competing against, but you have somebody like the director of Public Works, that would be a major loss to the town of Beech Mountain because of the skill sets that they need to have, like the water treatment plant. So that was kind of the driver, but it looks like what you're proposing would compensate for that.
Well, the answer is, I would propose that you continue longevity and change it to be more of a positive longevity program and not do the merit. I'm not saying do one or the other. I don't want you to offer a merit and me sit here and say, no, I don't want to do it, and not benefit the employees. I think I can solve both in a win-win situation.
Are our employees under contract? Do they have
Yeah.
contracts?
No,
Not
I'm
even,
the only one with a contract.
Okay.
So the employees are at-will employees.
Right.
One thing I forgot to mention, a benefit to the town, to the taxpayers, is the longevity is funded every year based on what the council decides. If you build it into the base salary, the personnel costs, payroll costs would continue, and even though you fund it as a lump sum, you have a lot less ability to change it. We would have to lay people off to reduce the payroll in future years. Longevity is not that same. Longevity is based on a year-to-year basis, based on what council decides at the budget hearing. So that's another benefit for the taxpayer and for managing the town finances.
Would you be able to, I don't know if this is kind of hypothetical, that to be able to get some type of a baseline or formula, or to be able to look at a merit increase versus longevity, and if this employee is making X amount of dollars, his potential increase with merit would be 2 to 3%, but take the same employee, $60,000, whatever that number would be, 2 or 3%, take that same amount and base it upon an increase, just to see.
Well, I could do that, but you need to tell me what 50% of the employee base won't get a merit.
So, and that's kind of the other question. If you've got an employee that, you got 2 employees that expected merit, and their supervisor says, this person gets a 3%, and this person doesn't get anything, then, you know, if I was that person that didn't get anything, if I were the supervisor, I'd say you either need to step up or find employment elsewhere.
Well, that's not the basis of the merit. If the supervisor doesn't feel that you're doing your job, we should not be waiting for the merit increase.
Correct.
If you're not doing your job, you should either improve or go find another job.
Right.
That's not, you're conflating that with merit. Merit says, if you look at it closely, it says you're doing more than the norm. And you can, depending on what job it is, I could give you examples, but you're doing more than the norm, so we want to reward you for that. Well, if you're rewarding everybody for that, which is what typically happens, then it's a across-the-board pay increase, it's not a merit.
Right.
So a merit is limited, and when in government, it's usually the bell curve, 50% get a merit, 50% don't. What we're saying under a merit is everybody's doing their job, some are doing more than others and deserve a merit. It's very, very subjective. The supervisors don't like it. You want to be a supervisor and say you don't get a raise and you do, because then either I'm not doing my job and you're supposed to be doing more, or now you're not my friend. Merit historically, I've done this a lot, doesn't work, and so we spend a lot of money doing a merit, and it's a net negative, and I would say don't do it. To answer Art's question, I don't want to do a merit, in case I'm not clear. But I also don't want to leave, dollars on the table for the employees, because I believe they deserve it.
Right.
I think we fall short in our longevity. I think I can get two birds with one stone, if you will. Unless the council doesn't want to fund something towards the employees under merit or longevity, then we just keep what we have.
So you really don't have the ability, like, say, Steve's been working 12-hour days for, 14 straight days, and, he did a great job, and he's a little $1,500 bonus. You can't do that, is that what I'm hearing?
I can.
You can.
On a limited basis, if it's within the budget, if you read the budget ordinance, which you haven't seen yet, but last year's budget ordinance, it allows me to make those adjustments within specific parameters, and I have done that. That, however, is not a merit, budgeted merit increase program. That's where it's within the pay plan, it's within my purview under the budget ordinance, and I justify it in writing. I can give that employee an increase. It has to stay within their range, it has to be budgeted, et cetera, et cetera.
But if you're saying it's an increase, it has to go on in perpetuity? I mean,
Yes.
so it's not, you just can't give it to them once and say,
No,
okay.
it's a change to their base salary.
Okay.
And I have done that, very limited,
Yeah.
maybe 2 or 3, but those were opportunities that presented themselves that I thought it was justifiable. It's all documented, and it's all within the budget and within the budget ordinance.
We talk about running the town kind of like, well, not kind of, like running the business. With this model, I get the merit and the longevity pay and the difference between the two. But of any companies, corporations that do longevity versus merit?
Private?
Yes, sir.
I know a government organization does both, and that's where I put this up on the board for the increase, for a merit increase, and I can talk about what I'm thinking since I put it on the board. So I don't think it's really a supervisor-driven evaluation. I think it's a metrics-driven evaluation that's in the employee's hands to be able to achieve. And so for each and every job you have in this organization, you draw up a set of matrix, and that matrix is basically from a 0 to a 5. And if the employee does nothing to achieve the metrics, they get a 0, and they get 0 points in that category. If they go above and beyond, and if I just use something as simple as on-time arrivals to work, 100% would get you a 5. You didn't miss a day, you didn't call in sick, that gets you a 5. That's in their hands, not their supervisors. And if you come up with a metric for each and every position, the employee is empowered to achieve it, not a supervisor giving a subjective evaluation of them. And so I think there's a lot of work to do with it. So for me, I would definitely support, if we're not already doing a percentage-based longevity, which I had at Medic, to where based on the years of service, based on your salary, you got a percentage. And we paid it out, we counted it to the end of October and paid it out in time for Christmas. So then it became kind of almost a Christmas bonus, which I would recommend that to look at as you're doing the numbers. That's where the merit increase comes to me. It's more of, it's driven by the employee based off of their job and based off things that are achievable and accomplishable within that job.
We do something very similar. You know, we look at their attendance, and we look at their attitude, we look at their job performance. You know, we look at, you know, and being our size, it's easy to do this. And, you know, at break time, when you're supposed to be back at your station at, you know, 15 minutes later, do they show up 17 minutes later? Those things, I mean, that's not subjective. And, you know, you can put a measure on that.
But I would argue that's not merit.
Yeah.
If coming to work every day on time is not, that's your job,
Sure.
why would you give someone a raise to do that? If coming back from break on time is your job, why would you give someone a raise to do that? They should be counseled and disciplined. That's why I said it's not really a merit. What we do have, and I think speaks to what you're saying, is in a number of positions where it's applicable, if you go and receive additional training, certification, depending, you know, I'm thinking the water plant, police, things like that, it's built into our policy where you get an increase. And so I have people that make more money than their supervisor because they've gone out and gotten more education, more certification, bring more value to the town. We do that, and that is in our compensation package. I would argue that coming to work on time or going on break is not something that's due an increase. It's you know,
Doing your job.
it's due a counseling form. Attitude is subjective. You know, if I'm measuring your attitude, it's going to be different than if you measure the same
Sure.
person's attitude. Merit, to me, we spend a lot of good money and we don't get the value that we want. We are handling people who go above and beyond, mostly in certification, but in a lot of our jobs, there's no ladder for that. Sanitation, for instance, there's really not a pathway to future certifications and things like that in sanitation. We do expect them to come to work every day on time. We do expect them to, you know, do their breaks on time, that type of thing, not wreck the truck. You know, some merit plans where if you had you know, 6 months of not having an accident, we gave you a raise. Well, darn, that's your job. If you have an accident in 6 months, we should be talking, not giving you. So because of all those reasons, I've learned that I'm not a supporter of merit, but I will apply any program that you wish me to apply. I just wanted to have the opportunity to talk to you about merit.
I mean, I come from a different world. I come from a world in my businesses where at the end of the year, if you have, you know, if you did well, you know, here's $5,000, and that was it. There was no raise. You know, you didn't get a raise. You just got $5,000 and had a good Christmas. But you know, I'm not increasing anybody's salary. So this is different than I was envisioning. So yeah, I mean, I think we all want to do what we're trying to do, but we maybe causing more harm than good.
I'm with you. I mean, I come from a different environment than
Yeah.
this concept.
Yeah.
But not that I'm not willing to disagree with our town manager, but I look at the performance and what he's brought to the table and the experience.
Yeah.
And this is the direction he wants to go in. And since I've been on council, I don't think there's been anything that he and his team have brought to council that hasn't worked and been to the benefit of all. So, you know, my stance is that, you know, let him do his magic and bring this to the table and
Yeah,
let's
I mean,
take
we
a
just
look at
need to
it.
say yes or no, I think.
Yeah.
That's great.
On
Well,
longevity.
Do you want me to, do a merit? Would you like me to bring some numbers back on longevity, or would you prefer we keep the status quo? I mean, those are our three.
I think you're more
Directions.
comfortable with the merit, and I just wanna make sure that with the merit, I'm sorry.
No, yeah.
Longevity.
Time out. Longevity. Time out. That with the longevity, that, I'm not saying let's be careless with the money, but let's make sure that the employees are, rewarded. I say a fair share, you can say, well, what's a fair share? That, that they are rewarded a fair share. That the employees are taken care of. Employees are the backbone of our business, your business, everyone's business.
And I think what he said earlier especially was that it's better for the taxpayers, and we have to keep that in mind. That if we did merit increases, that would be a burden that you carry through every budget as opposed to longevity.
Well,
think every
it
decision-
compounds.
It does compound.
And I'm not opposed to that. That is a benefit to the employee, because if an employee works for 20 years and never has an increase in base salary, it adversely affects their retirement, for instance.
Absolutely.
So, I am an advocate for that.
Okay.
However, our current longevity doesn't do that. The current longevity does not build upon the base, and it doesn't have a compounding effect. And so I think when I say that what I'm bringing to you appears to me to be a win-win for both sides of the equation, I'd like to, Steve has worked on this, put numbers together, we're right there. I'm not prepared to hand it out to you because I'm not sure that's what you wanted me to do, but we're ready to put it in detail form and get it ready for the budget. I don't think the taxpayer, you, want to put money into something you deem to be a positive, and it doesn't obtain the desired result.
I think somebody made a comment a while ago about the taxpayers. I think every decision that we make, we need to be sensitive to, what's this going to do to the taxpayers.
I agree, you gotta be sensitive to what it does to the taxpayer, but you also gotta think about your employee, and
Sure.
I'm good, like I said, I'm good, I support the longevity percentage going forwards. I think we do need to look at what are those other pieces of the puzzle coming down the road, because once we start getting out of this 4%, 5% CPI recession, if it ever starts to slow down, inflation slows down, then we're gonna have something available to offer the employee to retain employees, because other places are gonna start putting merit increases
That's what I'm
back
thinking,
in.
we gotta have retention of our
And
employees.
so when I think about it, there's work to do going forward next year or maybe the year after, is to have a plan together where we can look at, here's how we implement this and bring it forward then. The other thing I'll say, we have top out for positions, correct?
Yes.
So eventually a merit increase is gonna get you to top out, and I would assume that y'all would handle it the same way we did, and that is you're basically gonna get a one-time lump payment, much like a longevity, and it's not gonna affect your additional salary going forward.
Correct.
So eventually, you could get a merit 5%, 5%, 5%, and you hit your top out for your band of the position you're in. There's not gonna be any more impact to the taxpayer. They're gonna be topped out, and the employee's basically gonna get a lump sum,
But-
5%.
That's true, but in history, what typically happens in government, and it has happened here, is that's when that's when you go do a pay plan study.
Right.
That identifies that, and then it moves all the ranges up.
Correct.
Plus your COLA moves your ranges up.
Right.
So although that's true in practice, that's true. In practice, that's typically by the time you have a number of employees reach the top of the ranges change. So it's not static. Our pay plan is, we're into the year. We're about 9 months into the pay plan that we instituted. And so to maintain that plan so that we don't have people that top out and don't ever have an adjustment, that's why you have to have the right COLA to move your plan along. What happened to us in the past is the council did not use the correct COLA or any COLA, and then the pay plan immediately is behind. And then what happens, like we had in 2021, we were 18% behind, and it was a big hit to the town. So what I'm trying to do is not create that again, so that we have a level expenditure side on employee salaries, and we don't have that big hit that we had of 13% one year, and then hit with a 5% COLA right after that.
Yeah, and if you're moving pay bands with COLA, a lot of places don't do that.
Right.
So
we
it's
do.
good that we are doing that.
Yeah. Well, you have to, or you basically throw the money you invested in your pay plan out the door.
You know, the COLA and inflation, and that's always a moving target.
It is.
And it's not like, you know, once we make the decision this year, what we're gonna do next year, if we need to make an adjustment, I think that's part of the fiscal responsibility that council and the town manager, and we've spoken about this, we speak about this every year. And as Chief Budney said, we got behind when we did the payroll study, or the pay scale study, and we were 18% behind. And I use this as a learning curve. You know, what are we doing now that has made an improvement versus what, regardless of right or wrong, what's been done in the past? But what improvement have we made today that we didn't make, you know, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? And we have to use that as a learning curve and continue to do better. And I think, I mean, what we're doing and going through this exercise, you know, parlays to that.
So the impact to this year's budget would be about the same. In other words, if we took Steve and I talked, we took a range of 1 to 5% on a merit on 50% of the employees, and we came up with a number. And then we tried to move that into a better, what we believe, better longevity plan. So the impact to the budget, if you go merit or you go longevity, is going to be relatively the same. The impact to next year's budget is really what I'm more concerned about. So if we do a merit, that amount will compound next year into the base salary. And so that's my concern again. The longevity will not, that's the big difference, and then the council will have the opportunity next year to reevaluate longevity, which you do every year. And typically what I've done for the past 4 budgets is I just brought you the same longevity every year, and it's been passed. It hasn't been adjusted in the 4 years that I've been here, and it's woefully low and inadequate, and we're spending money, again, I hate to repeat myself, we're spending money to benefit the employees, and it's a net negative to them. They get that check, they just got it. They get that check for longevity, and they've been here 15 years, and they look at it, I got $750.
See, that was my point a few minutes ago about, I was probably confusing how I said it, but is the longevity keeping up with maybe a merit raise, or is the longevity keeping up with, if the longevity hasn't been adjusted,
It has.
then what value is it to the employee?
Well, it's less of a value.
It's less of a
And I would
value.
argue that our longevity is not keeping a single employee here. If they go to make a decision about another job offer, our longevity is not playing into their thought process because it's not adequate.
So how do you form a baseline on an adjustment, an increase with longevity?
Well, I think percentage base is the better model because it takes into that equation future adjustments to people's salary. People are here for one reason. They're not here for the beautiful scenery. They're here to make better for their family. Let's face it, that's why they're working here. That's why anybody works at a job, is to make it better for their family. So they are continuously striving to improve. The percentage-based longevity, as opposed to what we have today, lump sum, builds into that. As you strive to improve your longevity, we're rewarding your tenure with the town at a higher level the longer you stay. And isn't that what longevity is meant to be? So I suggest at a minimum, we go away from lump sum longevity and go to percentage base. If I use the same dollar amount, I can do that, but it's inadequate for what it's doing. I would like to, like I said, kill two birds with one stone and take the offer from council for a merit and fix the longevity for the same amount of money to the taxpayer.
Yeah, I agree with
If
that.
that doesn't fit with what you want me to do, tell me, and we've got three options, we'll go do whatever you tell us to do.
Based upon the discussions we've had over the last half hour, that's what I think that needs to be
It
done.
makes sense.
I agree.
Makes financial sense.
Are you good with that?
Yeah, no,
Because this is a big thing for you.
Yeah, no, I'm good with it, and like I said, we just need to be looking down the road. Like, somehow we all need to get together and just start having discussions about what would 2 years from now merit increases look like on top of the longevity. Like I said,
Yeah.
keep employees retention, and especially when you start looking at whatever other towns are gonna start offering.
If you leave prior to year end,
Should get
do you
prorated.
do you get any of that money, or is it prorated, or you lose out on it?
You lose out. Yeah.
You lose out?
So if you're due for longevity in April and you leave the town in February, you don't get longevity. You would have got it the year previous.
So if somebody with the money that, never mind.
I want to pay people to stay here.
Sure.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
want to pay people that left.
The right people.
The right
Does that
people.
also include like occupation, licenses and that type of stuff, or is it just straight longevity?
It's straight longevity.
Okay,
But if we go to a percentage base and you got additional licensing and certification, it would be based on that higher amount.
okay.
So it would take into consider.
Mhm.
Steve, do I need to ask any other questions on that for you? Okay.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, I want to pay employees to stay.
Yeah.
We're in the same situation at our business. We have not competitors in our industry, but other industries that we compete against. Same with, like the CDL drivers. We pay X amount,
Yeah.
but we've got other larger corporations that are paying, 15% more. We have to give them an incentive organization, to pay them a fair salary.
It's extremely costly to go replace a person.
Absolutely.
The recruitment, bringing them in, they don't have the institutional knowledge, you have to train them up, and then there's that period of time where they get up to speed. If we were honest with ourselves, the incremental cost to replace an employee is extremely high. And if we can avoid that at all costs, we're gonna save money. It just doesn't, it's a panacea to think you're gonna keep 100% of the time, but the costs are substantial. All right, well, thank you on that. We'll move forward and you'll see that on the next update. The discussion on unassigned fund balance of operational expenses, we had talked last meeting, and I think the council was willing to go below the 50% of fund balance to make some of the costs that we've identified. What we brought to you today brings the unassigned fund balance to about 52%, without capital improvement. So we're there, we're able to meet that criteria. Doesn't mean we're married to it, I just asked you for the opportunity to bring it back to you with that. And at the end of today, that may change a little bit, but I think it's doable that we can balance our budget and keep our unassigned fund balance, have appropriate capital improvement, and then we're gonna be above 50%. We've got to focus on additional code enforcement. We had talked a little bit about that. We have a current employee that's on board now, and code enforcement's going to be a target of this budget. It really doesn't have additional budget implications other than in capital. I've got a vehicle, I think, but know that we're going to increase our code enforcement, and there'll be some appropriate revenue as well that goes along with that, because our fines will increase, and Steve's taken that into consideration. What you should note, if you would go back to page 53 and look down at the bottom under Public Works. So what we did in this budget, and I discussed it last meeting with you, but we moved three major items from capital that in the past were capitalized, and now we've moved them into operations, and that is resurfacing. So we've moved $1.2 million into Public Works under resurfacing in this budget, under operational. So that is no longer a capital expense.
I looked for that, I was wondering where that was.
It's there. We've moved road salt of 200,000. Obviously, we can't capitalize road salt. It was before. It's no longer there, so it's included in that budget number that you see. And I moved $50,000 of culvert replacement as well, for a total of $1,570,000 is now in the Public Works operational budget for those items as opposed to CIP. So that's why you'll see a substantial increase in the Public Works Department operational costs. What that means is we're bringing you a balanced budget and have moved that 1.57 to operations, which is a Herculean task, by the way, by Steve and Daniel. But know that now no longer exists in capital, it's in operations.
So this figure 3.29, that includes that, but the additional budget items?
3.521085.
Oh, that one over there, okay.
That includes it. And you'll see that, if you want to look at it, let's go to, let me find it real quick. 50, what page? You can turn to page 45.
Okay, yeah, right there's resurfacing.
And so it's in the notes, and if you look on page 42, it splits it out.
Right.
No, I'm sorry, it'll be,
45, it splits it out.
yeah, I'm sorry. On 45. So know that that's in your operational budget now. That's a change from last year. And so when you're looking at the year-to-year change in budget, you'll see where that 53 again. And you look under administration, you see that number has grown quite high. And that reflects the merit / adjustment, I can't think of it, longevity, and what else do we have in there, Steve?
It has all general fund debt.
Yes.
And that number is current. It also has the CIP.
So what that means is, once we get the budget finalized, for instance, the longevity will then be departmentized. We'll put it into each department, their cost, the debt. So right now, we're showing that total amount. That will change. We'll split those costs out into each department. It wasn't worth the effort, if you weren't going to approve the longevity, to go ahead and put it into every department and then have to go back and take it all out. So we put it into administration. All right, there are no new employee positions proposed. We're going to remain at the same level. We do have 3 vacancies current.
What vacancies are those,
One
Chief?
is a police officer, one's in sanitation.
We're not going to fill those positions?
Oh, we are. But I'm not requesting any additional positions.
Okay.
So we have 72 full-time positions. And
Those 3 positions are in the budget.
yes, they are. The budget also shows $160,000 for site procurement and planning for the new salt and public works location. And let's see. All right, any questions so far of what I've said? If we could go to the schedule of fees, it's a tab in the beginning of the book. I think it's like the 3rd tab. And we need to have a relatively lengthy discussion on that. Everybody finds their schedule of fees. The changes for this year are in red. So if you look at the first page, in planning, we've done some we put in some new fees for specialty paper, aerials and things like that. Not a big deal.
I can tell you that our town fees are cheaper than Staples or whatever in Boone and all that. So that's why I come here.
Well, some of those fees are regulated by state statute.
Oh, really?
Copying, those type of things are regulated by state statute. But where we can put in additional fees legally, we do. So if these aren't numbered, so if you get over to Parks and Recreation, it's the next red one. It says Shane Park overnight camping. That's a new item. And what we did is we separate it by sites. Sites 1, 2, and 3 is $30 a night. That's a new item. Those are the non-premium camp tent sites. And then sites 4 and 5, we're getting $40. So that's an additional fee.
What was it, 15?
No, it was 40, and
I don't remember.
we didn't
Yeah, we didn't have
separate
one.
the.
Is this based on the size of the
Well,
sites?
no, the 4 and 5 have the decks over the creek,
Okay.
and so we were charging $40 for those. The dirt sites, we're getting the same rate, and we're proposing those go to 30. They're not as good.
Does anybody ever complain about those rates?
No,
Exactly.
that's a deal and a half.
Are they competitive with the area? Do we know?
No,
Those? Okay.
no, we're much less
Yeah.
for premium campsites. They're probably double, a little less, maybe $60. Shane Park camping is fairly new, and this is what Sean Royal has said has worked well. It's not a lot of revenue. We can adjust it if you'd like on those. If you'll go to the next page, utilities, water and sewer, I'd like to have a substantial discussion with you on this. So we've proposed, and you'll see it in red, we've proposed, as in every year, a base rate increase of $2.85 to go to $57.25. Everybody see that? And we can do that. I mean, that's what we propose, and that's the easiest thing to do. In my opinion, I don't think it's the right thing to do, and we have an opportunity to change it, and I'd like you to hear me out. Long discussion to get around to where we are, but last fall we had a mandatory water restriction. We had signs out. We were telling people to save water, and everything sounds good. We didn't save a whole lot of water. In our rate structure, even under required penalties, in my opinion, doesn't work. If the idea is to conserve water, our structure doesn't do that. And similarly, I need to increase revenue on the water side, and that's why I put in a base rate increase. But it will increase revenue. What it won't do is conserve any water. In fact, our current system rewards usage over 3,000 gallons a minute. 3,000 gallons a month. So if you look at our base rate is, I'm proposing $57.25. It is $54.40. And for every 1,000 gallons over that, up to 5,000, it's only $5 per 1,000. So, quick math. If you look at what 3,000 gallons costs you, it's 0.018 cents per gallon, and then we only charge you half a cent a gallon more to go over. It doesn't save water. In fact, if you reach the 3,000 gallon mark, you should open the faucet and use as much water as possible because it's a deal. Not more importantly, as important, when we had the mandatory restrictions, we have a number of people, everybody pays the base rate whether you use 1 gallon or 3,000. So we have a number of people who don't reside here year round. And so for a period of months, they have zero usage. So when we raise the base rate, we're raising it on everybody across the board, including the people who use no water for months out of the year. When we get to restrictions, we have a multiplier on the base rate, depending on how bad the restriction is, 10%, 25%, 50%, and it applies to everybody across the board. So that same resident who uses no water, zero, during a drought, we're going to charge them that multiplier on their base rate, and we haven't saved a gallon because they're not using any water. It doesn't work, and it's not fair.
Do you have software that can distinguish?
Well, we have problems with that. In other words, when we enact a restriction 2 weeks into the billing cycle, we can't account for that, so we've got to either give a grace period to the next billing cycle or retro back to the first one. The billing cycle is that. However, what we also have is a number of occupancies who use a lot of water every month. Think single-family home with 20 people every day. I'm not going to say what's going on there, but think of those. And they actually are rewarded for more water use, and so they would pay the increased base rate, but they would still get everything over 3,000 gallons at that 0.05 half a cent rate. And some of these are using well over 10,000 gallons a month. We have about 350 properties on every month that exceed the minimum. And so what I'd like to propose, and if I could just give you this, if you would just take one and get it down, make sure.
Is there a more up-to-date method to do this that it wouldn't create?
You're being handed.
Well, that's really what I would like to talk to you about. So, what I've given you, and these are just, did Emily get one? So these are just examples. Please don't hold me to the numbers because you haven't told me to do this yet, and there's 3 options here. The yellow one is current, and what I did is reduced it to gallons. In other words, the ranges in the it's difficult if you look at the fee schedule to figure out what actual dollars would be charged. So in the yellow at the top, the current is 0.018 per gallon, and with no ranges. So, and I did it in 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 10,000 gallon range, just so you can see. So if we don't do anything different, these are what someone would pay if they use 3,000 gallons, 4,000 gallons.
Well, I thought you said it went down after 3,000.
It does.
This is 18 cents all the way through.
Well, its minimum is 18, and then there's a multiplier on that.
Oh, okay.
So, but for this exercise, if you would look at the yellow as that's what you have. If we go to the green, which is what I'm proposing, a conservation range, I would propose that you lower the base rate for everybody. You would keep the 4,000 gallon rate the same, and then you would dramatically increase the usage fee going forward on the 5, 6, 8, and above 10,000 gallons. This would bring in the revenue that we require. It would reduce the rate for base for most property owners that use less than 3,000, win. And it would then impact the people who are using the water, depending on, and it would encourage conservation. Now's the time I need to remind you that last council meeting, I told you that our water plant for 3 months in a row has been over 100% of permitted capacity. So we have to do something to reduce water use. The argument will be, don't raise my rates, fix your leaky pipes. We're spending tens of millions of dollars fixing our leaks. I understand that. I'll take that one right upside the head. But we've got to reduce the amount of water that is being used and being sent through the meter.
And this applies to commercial.
Commercial
entities as
and
well.
residential are identical in our current rate.
Okay.
If you want to keep it that way. I haven't discussed commercial versus residential in this exercise.
Okay.
Is the 3,000 gallon start point, is that always been, or is that mandated, or could we do say a 1,000, 2,000, 3,000?
You could. We need to have a base rate that funds the utility if no one uses any water. I've got to maintain the plant, I've got to, all those things. So the 3,000 gallon rate accomplished that. So that's, for lack of a better explanation, that's how the 3,000 came in. It certainly could be changed, and if you'd like, we'll take a look at that. Art, I want to apologize. So if you look at the blue, that's the current rate with the sliding scale.
Ah,
The yellow is the current rate if we just went to per gallon. So the blue is if you use 4,000 gallons, it's a $5 charge for that extra 1,000 gallons. If you'll look up top in the yellow, that same 1,000 gallons, if you use the should be 72.
right.
So in the blue, that shows you what I was saying, that the more you use, the cheaper it gets.
Right.
Totally opposite of what we need to do, in my
I
opinion.
agree.
This is all my opinion. So what I don't want is those numbers in the green to be, they're not set in stone. This is an example. Steve and Daniel have not run the numbers to see revenue-wise how this works. But I do believe that the concept is what we should be looking at. And I do believe that we can and should lower the base rate for everybody at the same 3,000 gallon quantity, and then increase in a sliding scale so that the more water you use, the more you pay for it.
I think that's a more fair and balanced approach,
Definitely.
and it all financially makes sense. I personally would like to see, if we move in this direction, some numbers from Steve and Daniel, the finance, hopefully the positive financial impact this will have to the bottom line. Also, I want to ask a while ago, do you have the software that tracks this? Is it user-friendly and up-to-date?
Those two things aren't mutually exclusive. It's user-friendly if you're trained on it. You mean for the public to use?
No.
Oh, yeah, us.
You guys.
Yes, and we're changing. We're going from one vendor to, we're updating it to a new system. We have the ability to measure and bill by gallon.
Mm-hmm.
And my proposal is to reduce the ranges to a gallon. A gallon costs you, half a cent or whatever it turns out to be. We can measure it and we can bill it by gallon.
Mm-hmm.
And then you determine the ranges or what that per gallon needs to be so that as we move forward, Steve's looked at it, we can change the structure table in the software to do whatever you want by gallon.
Like you said, you can change the software, like we use the metrics with the, what's the financial program that we have?
Our financial model?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So your financial model, if we would be able to have some type of, and maybe we do, a financial model for this,
We do.
okay.
That's actually in that model. It's called volumetrics in the model on the utility side, where we put in these volumetrics and it calculates based on our historical flows, what that means to our financial bottom line. And that's what Steve does, and to make sure that my idea makes financial sense. At best, we need an increase in revenue to some extent. More importantly, I think we're asking the wrong people to continue to pay
Yeah,
the increase.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we're not asking the people who are using the vast quantities of water to pay that increase.
Point of clarification. Do we bill per gallon, or when you exceed a threshold, you just get billed for that next threshold?
We bill by gallon, it's in the system as when you exceed the threshold, that amount changes. So if I use 3,528 gallons, that 528 gallons is billed at a different rate than the 3,000.
Okay, so you don't jump all the way to $72, because that's 4,000.
Correct.
Okay.
What I'm asking for is some direction here. Do you want me to propose a base increase, water and sewer, as we have every time in the past? Or do you want me do you not want to approve an increase? And three, would you allow us to look at this green box where we go with a sliding scale?
I say
I
green
like
box,
the sliding scale.
Yeah,
I think
sliding scale.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know,
Makes sense.
as Chief, as you pointed out, we're rewarding people for using more water. And that's not what we're trying to accomplish at all. So we need to, change it the other way. The higher you go, the more you pay.
So one question for me would be, where we're running into a problem with folks overusing water really seems to be in a residence. How is this going to impact the commercial user if we implement the same fee structure to them? Do we also need to now look at a commercial rate? Because they're already going to be using, I'm sure.
I think we do. Currently, and as long as I've been doing this, the rate, the fee schedule, and you can see it in your fee schedule, but right below it is commercial rate, and it's identical. So, commercial typically uses more bulk water, and typically there's an accommodation for that. Personally, I think we should look at that.
Yeah, definitely.
We didn't, because I didn't want to do that exercise and then have you tell me, no, just stay with what we got. Similarly to sewer. So, commercial, do you want us to look at a discount for commercial?
I would think you need to, because you don't want to penalize the businesses up here.
Right.
Because,
The argument there is, if you buy a gallon of gas, it's $3.19. If you buy a gallon of water, it's half a cent, regardless of where you use it. It costs us the same amount to produce it. So there's an argument on that side, but a lot of places, the bulk water is discounted. Some direction, or do you want us to investigate that and see what other
But on the
towns?
sewer side, you don't measure sewer.
Well, let's talk about commercial for just a minute, and then I've got a whole thing about sewer.
Oh, okay.
I think you've got to look at commercial differently, because it is bulk water, and I think, I can't see penalizing them, because their usage isn't going to change, right? If they're using 10,000 a month today, they're likely using 10,000 a month a year from now today, right? And it's not based off of the fluctuations of the amount of people they have staying in their residence.
Well, it would, I would think. I mean, commercial is less going on now. Jimmy's not washing dishes right now. So, commercial will fluctuate in there seasonally, in their consumption.
I don't think there's as much opportunity to conserve in commercial as there is in residential use. Commercial, you build a business and it uses X amount of gallons. Obviously, you're trying to manage your costs, so I don't know how you wash less, have dirty, I don't know.
And
I
you were
think the
saying that
impacts will
there,
be more on residential than it is commercial.
Yeah.
Well, the rate will be, if you're a 10,000 gallon commercial user, you're gonna pay a lot of money.
Yeah, you're going to pay a substantial amount more. than
As you
you're
should,
paying now.
because we need to encourage you to reduce consumption.
But a lot of businesses don't have that
No, don't have that
opportunity.
luxury,
I'm
yeah.
talking about commercial. A lot of businesses don't have the opportunity to dramatically reduce consumption
Yeah.
because that's business. Like if you had a car wash. Something
Right.
like that. Well, what's your pleasure on commercial? What would you like us to look at? A discount or no?
I think we should look into it from a perspective to not, penalize the businesses that are up here that are, we should at least take that into consideration.
I mean, I would have no objection to a commercial rate and a residential rate.
I agree.
Yeah, I think it needs to be separated.
All right, let's talk about sewer. So currently, We measure sewer by water use. If you use 3,000 gallons, we charge you 3,000 gallons, because there's no way to meter sewer. So you'll notice in the fee schedule that the sewer rate is identical to the water rate, so you double it. And the thought process is that if you consume 3,000 gallons of water, we had to produce it and distribute it, and then 3,000 gallons, we had to collect the sewage, treat it, and dispose of it. So, traditionally, it's always been that way. Doesn't mean that we have to stay there, but it's a matrix that we can justify. We measure, it's based on gallons used, and it's justifiable. You may want to make sewer less than water. There's an argument that it costs less to treat sewage than it does to treat potable water, and this, the issue is, I need to look at the finances, because the revenue has been based on a model of, water sold, sewage treated. But we're willing to do anything you want. Currently, we would propose it remain the same, because we have some, ability to monitor, measure. It's not arbitrary, but if you've got an idea, we will certainly take that into consideration.
Well, you've got a nut that you've got to cover in sewage plant and in the water plant. So you can, if you go to a reduction of the sewer plant, then how are you going to come up with your revenue to cover the sewer plant?
Well, I would not propose a reduction in overall revenue. We can't afford it.
Yeah,
In
no,
fact,
that's what I mean. So how
I'm
do you?
proposing an increase,
Yeah.
both sewer and water, of the two-something,
Right.
285. The, where was I going with this? The, we'll look at the revenues. I had proposed a reduction in the base rate under this, and you've told me to move forward on this green box. That would apply to sewage as well. So if we went to a reduction in the water and you kept the same model where the sewage rates were the same, that base rate reduction would reflect in sewer as well, if we kept the same model.
And the increases as well in the green box for sewage,
Correct.
so.
And it's not going to decrease the revenues, because,
Should be neutral.
aren't we at a point where we're going to have to do some major work at the plant?
Yep.
So how is this going to
Well,
affect that?
we will adjust the rate in the green box to have the increase in revenue that we proposed at the 285.
Mhm.
So it won't be neutral to this year, Art, but it will be neutral to what this rate increase I'm asking for. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mhm.
But sewer is the other piece of the pie, obviously, and if you want to keep the same matrix, we'll certainly factor that in. and put
I mean,
it together.
I think we should, because
Yeah.
if we're doing it for one, why aren't we doing it for the other?
And, but I'm also thinking of we have a lot of part-time residents here, and one of the bitches I always hear is, I'm paying all this money for 6 months when I'm not there. And I think this gives them a little bit something. And I think that's a positive. And so if we, structure things on a sliding scale, and the worst case scenario being the high consumers, I'm all in favor of that.
Okay, we'll do that. Let's see, we need to talk about,
Can I ask a piece of clarification?
sure.
What's monthly out-of-town residential and commercial rate?
Oh, that's on the utility side, the water side. We provide utility service, water and sewer, to a limited number of people who do not pay property taxes.
Outside the town limits?
They're
Thank you.
outside the town limits.
Got it.
So we charge them by ordinance double. So when I increase or decrease the base rate, that rate increases or decreases. That's what that is.
Sorry, I was stuck with out of town, and I'm like, you're not at your house.
I'm in a hotel.
All right. sure I'm good. If you would turn, and there's no numbers, get to the sanitation page, it's up at the top left, it says sanitation type of service.
Sanitation.
2 pages past the
Everybody
water and
there?
sewer.
So we're proposing a $5 increase
2 pages past.
from the current 35 to 40. And we're adding a standard 2-can based on the comments we received last meeting.
Thanks.
And I did want to clarify that the current ordinance allows us to increase the number of bins and containers and the fee for those properties that generate more solid waste. So we already have that in place. We need, so what we did in the fee schedule was clarify that and make it standard 2 cans. So if you added another bin with 2 cans, it would be an additional $40 under this rate structure. Now, similar to water, I need a rate increase on solid waste because we're in the red. And the reason we're in the red is not unexpected, but this council isn't part of the plan, so let me bring you up to speed. 2 budgets ago, the town went through a painful solid waste commercial dumpster issue with our solid waste, and we removed all commercial and dumpster service from the town. The town previously had done that themselves, and we had about a $750,000 capital improvement that had to be done that year to continue with dumpster service. And the council at the time got out of the dumpster business and got a franchise with Republic, and we removed the commercial dumpster service from our revenue side. We also removed it from the expenditure side. And what I asked the council to do at the time was to give us at least a full cycle so that we could measure the actual impact on the tonnage of solid waste, the deliver it, there was going to be a reduction in revenue and there was going to be a reduction in cost as well. So that's been done. We finished that, and we operated in the red this year because we haven't done a rate increase as we should going forward to maintain our operational fund balance. And that's the reason why. It was predicted we would be in this point today. So I need additional revenue to balance the sanitation budget. And I want to remind everybody, we have 3 funds. We have the general fund, which I gave you a balanced budget. That was the $11+ million. We have the water and wastewater fund, which it's a balanced budget. And then we have the sanitation fund. All 3 are separate, and all 3 must support themselves. So the sanitation fund has to be at least neutral. It has to be balanced, and it's not. So we need a rate increase.
Rather than a rate increase, if we're saying the same thing, we're probably the only town in the United States, I'm just going to say one of the few towns, maybe the only town, that operates a convenience center, and then we also have residential trash pickup. I think
Twice a week.
twice a week. So, on my street, we have a few cans, bear resistant cans. The truck backs up and backs up to the end of the street and then goes out. And I think whether we do it this year, this is my proposal, whether we do it this year, I really don't want to say, I get tired of hearing kick the can down the road. Either the taxpayers can accept an increase, or if it were me making a decision in my business, I would get rid of one of the 2. And my preference would be, since you require bins at everyone's home, that we reduce the amount of hours that we turn the convenience center into a recycling center. We maybe operate that recycling center 1 or 2 days a week. And we sell that equipment I've said this for 4 or 5 years, I've never been a fan of the convenience center. We sell the equipment and invested in picking up residential trash, and we still do that twice a week. And again, we sell the equipment, and then we invest in whatever we need to for, to run efficiently picking up trash. Now, say that, I don't know if you've gone through the exercise, let's just say hypothetically we would do that. You know, a lot of times for every action, there's a reaction. So is there gonna be, we need to go through the exercise to see if that, how much that will actually save the town, save the taxpayers, and what expenses would be involved in it. But, you know, we've got, we're running, I don't wanna say, we're running 2 businesses up here. We're running the convenience center, and we're running trash pickup, and it's excessive. Now, there's probably gonna be some pushback with it, but I mean, again, as a taxpayer, I pay enough in taxes, and if this is,
Well, there's all different aspects of it that you have to kind of look at. I mean, even the people that drop off their trash at the convenience center, that trash gets compacted. It's less of a vehicle going down to the dump, where when you're picking up everything, it's not compacted, it's more trips to the dump. So you gotta look at all aspects of it. It's not just, you know, shut the gate and saying, okay, those, you know, you're not gonna be able to transport as much per load in a throw it in the back of a truck operation than a compacted operation.
I think they make a correct, I mean, again, this is just talking, how can we save money? Again, for every action, there's a reaction.
Right.
But this would have to be a financial exercise
Yeah.
that I would challenge, Public Works to provide this information to us. What if we did this? What would happen, positive or negative? What if we closed the recycling, the convenience center? You know, right now, we were open 7 days a week. I thought that was ridiculous. Then we went to 6 days a week. We may be able, not maybe, we can go to 5 days a week. It's just getting acclimated to a new schedule. So, do we want to attempt to cut costs or leave it status quo? And I personally would like to see the exercise of picking up trash at your residence.
Well, we already do that. That cost is fixed.
And
No, it's not really,
So-
because if everybody has to go, have a bin and everybody's gonna have to have a can, it's gonna take longer to pick it up, you know? And so it does have a knock-on effect, I think.
Yeah, but that, I would argue that's minimal. The truck.
I'd say the same.
The truck's going by.
And our labor costs are the same. The route may take longer, but we pick it up twice a week, because of the short-term rentals. And that's why we have bear bins. I mean, that's how that whole process went about. So that cost is, and the tonnage should be about the same, whether we pick it up at your house or take it from the convenience center as well. So I'm saying that our route system is pretty finite. I mean, there's probably some adjustments, some fuel, maybe, things like, but the things that we can control, that's pretty set.
those are fixed costs.
Our
I think-
tonnage, our pickup, is about the same.
Yeah, tonnage shouldn't change, compacted or not compacted, it's still the same.
I think that cost would be, it would be an increase, but I think it would be very minimal. And I'm just basing that, I have nothing to base that off of, just,
Well, we saw an increase in tonnage, that's what I was looking up. We saw an increase in tons collected in January and in February, and then in March we saw a decrease.
Right.
But I can only look at 3 months.
Well, those are total tons of both systems.
Right.
It's what we actually paid for at the transfers, we're in Watauga. And we typically have more tonnage in the winter, than we do any time else, and then, of course, this summer is our next one.
I was comparing year over year, so
Yeah, year
this
over
year
year.
compared to last year.
I mean,
Well, we had a banner year. We'll do the exercise, but what I don't wanna do is go down that rabbit hole. It's, you know, trash in this town has been,
A sore thumb.
an Achilles heel.
Yeah.
There's at least 2 issues with closing the garbage selection at the convenience center. One, in my opinion, the major one is a mistake that we made, is we allowed people to exempt from the ordinance of requiring a bin. So not everybody has a bin. If you were to lock the gate today, there's people that don't have a bin, and you gave them permission, I don't mean you personally, the town,
Yeah.
gave them permission not to have a bin.
Can you reverse that?
You can do anything you want. The issue is, that they were told one thing, and they don't have the ability for us to pick up their garbage. Secondly, we have the dumpster system, we have an accommodation there, because during the peak of the season, the dumpsters, aren't sufficient. And so we opened up our transfer dock for commercial use at a fee that actually we make money. It's more expensive to use our dock than another dumpster pickup. And that would have to be, we either think about that, or we've got next winter time, all of our dumpster customers don't have any place to get rid of their trash. So you're talking about an unintended consequence. Those are two things, policy decisions that need to be made by this group.
You might, it's in the ignition.
Can I move your truck?
Yes, you can.
Is
So-
anybody else here drive a black truck with a South Carolina tag? Can I?
Squeal the tires, will you?
I think that with the number of large consumers that we have, with the limited amount of large consumers we have, I'll use Jimmy for an example. It seems like everybody picks on Jimmy.
That's because he's here.
Let's make up another business. But with the limited amount of businesses that we have up here, that we can still have that transfer station up here and be accommodating.
Well, all I'm saying is, it's not all or nothing. I think that's what you were saying.
Yeah.
We need, there's some policy decisions that would have to be incorporated other than just shutting the gate. And it's not just the brick oven, Fred's, the resort,
Yeah.
that
The
everybody,
condos.
they take advantage of that, and that was a solution to a problem that worked. What I don't want to do is not have that understood, and so if we go forward, there's some policy discussion about that.
I think those details will
Well, the
can
bigger
be
problem,
easily overcome.
the bigger problem is gonna be if you go to curbside pickup, those houses that don't have bins.
Aren't they required to
They're
have bins?
$1,000 each.
They are. The ordinance requires everybody to have a bin, and we've been struggling on the code enforcement side to get people that don't have exemption to get their bins put in. And so there's been a number of letters, and we'll have to increase that. But if you go to strictly curbside pickup, there's got to be policy discussion on those two issues.
Do we know what percentage that is? I mean, how many have and how many don't have bins?
No, we do. I don't have the number.
Yeah.
We have a list, and the agreement was you got a lifetime exemption until you sold the house, and then the new owner had to put in a bin. So what we have done regularly, and I don't know the number, is we've taken that list and culled out all the houses that got sold, and so those fell off. But there's probably
I think it's less than 200.
it's probably less than 100.
I was being conservative. I think it was I was thinking that a year, 2 years ago.
We'll do
It
that.
was
Part of this
130.
exercise, I'll bring that to you. I just want you to know that's a deal. That's a big deal, because we did that, and it's been over our head since that day.
So,
Well, we went down a big rabbit hole on that
Trash.
whole, yes.
Yes, I know.
So, I mean, and then to reinforce could be another big rabbit hole.
Oh, if you close the convenience center, it'll be
Yeah.
packed room.
Yeah.
Part of the issue is though, we have people on our street that still have wooden bins, and as soon as they put their trash out, the bear's in it. Chief knows the house, and there's trash everywhere.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help. The bears don't discriminate between someone who's a full-time or has an STR, whatever. They just see trash and they go and tear it up, and then and then we have the town having to clean up that area, and they have to take their resources to do it, so that,
And there's a bear fine associated with that, and it's, that's gotten better. We report that to you every month in the Public Works section on how many bear fines that month there were, and it's dramatically dropped. We have far more compliance than we did
Michael.
before.
Your key.
So would you guys be opposed if we just, if, from a financial standpoint, and to get some numbers?
Yeah,
To go-
I think,
To go through the
Well-
exercise?
What are you looking to do?
well, we're looking for not to be in the black. I mean, you know, we want to at least have a neutral,
Well, I can do that with an increase, and we move on, and no one says anything again.
I'm opposed to an
What was
increase.
the original number? I should know this.
It-
Besides the 40, was it 35?
35.
Okay.
So my one question would be, and not to stay down the trash rabbit hole, which I've tried, put myself in, I'm trying to get out of. Is there no way that we can, so we're picking up 2 times a week, and we're doing it specifically because of STRs. Is there no way we can pass that cost directly to the STRs?
Well, to put it that bluntly, no. We're not permitted by law to register them, and so for me to bill them differently, we would have to have something that says, not just the neighbor says, or we happen to know, but we'd have to have them on a different account, and we're not permitted to do that legally. We're not allowed to register them, we're not allowed to treat them any differently than the next house on the street that isn't an STR. So the way we increase their costs is to require additional containers in garbage. And we did not permit them to use the convenience center.
We've got several options. We're like, as I mentioned a moment ago, we're running 2 businesses. We're running the convenience center and we're running the trash route. And we're duplicating our efforts. I personally don't want to see an increase. Now, there may be some, I'm sure there's going to be some pushback if we only went to curbside pickup. But we're not going to lose any money if we just go through the exercise and see what kind of impact it will have if we eliminated the center, but we had, so we could do recycling, maybe we would be open a day or 2 a week or something, whatever that number may be.
We have to recycle.
Well, there are a lot of towns that got away from recycling. That's another story.
It's illegal.
it's illegal, yeah, we're mandated.
State mandates we recycle, offer
Yeah.
recycling. And every business that has a liquor license has to use that as their ability to have their license. So let's be careful about not doing that. We would hurt some of our businesses.
Well, I'm curious, and this is a different topic, I know there are towns in North Carolina that don't have the manpower to recycle, and they quit their recycling program.
They have to have some form of recycling. Either they contract it out, they provide a site. There's a number of things you can do, but you
Okay.
can't walk away from recycling under state statute.
Okay.
A lot of places have a sorting system at the transfer stations where it goes through a sorting and recycles there, and some places it's manual. Guys going
Yeah.
like this along the conveyor belt.
And more importantly, I'm not a big recycler myself, but more importantly, the businesses that sell alcohol can't get their license without using some recycling system, and ours has been the one that we've listed on those forms every time. So be careful of that one.
So for us to operate in the black, would you guys be opposed if Public Works did a financial impact on, what if we went to 5 days a week rather than 6? And what would be the pros and cons of closing the recycling center, the convenience center, and having curbside pickup? Just to have that information, because, I mean, right now,
we
we're just,
should.
what ifs and what ifs. Let's have something concrete that we can look at, discuss, and make a decision.
So you're just looking at dollars and cents.
Yes, sir?
So 5 days
I
a
am.
week, or close the convenience center to garbage
Correct.
and maintain recycling.
guys good with that?
Yes.
Well, I think the driver has to be that you want to go to neutral, so 5 days a week might not get you
It may
there.
not, but
But,
you're
What
correct.
you know, see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean,
Well,
let's say.
one day will not make up the difference.
Well, and that's a valid point, because, and I wasn't gonna go there, I wasn't gonna stretch it from 6 days, 5 days, 4 days, but since you brought it up, if we know what that cost is for that one day, and let's say that it's cost prohibitive to, shut down the convenience center, and to be cost revenue neutral, we can go to 4 days a week. But at
Well-
least if we go through the exercise, it's gonna give us a baseline.
Well, is it an and/or?
Is
Or
it,
can there be a mix?
I don't know, let's look at the numbers
Or
first.
can there be a mix of rate? So the rate increase, as we're proposing, will bring in about $120,000 annually. Closing the recycling or the convenience center one day will not make that up. So are you amenable to a day close and less of an increase, or you want it to be no increase? What can we do to get into the red, black?
I mean, I think it's, for me, it's pretty clear. The $5 increase is the only thing that's gonna fund it and get it into the black. I mean, cutting down and shutting down the salary of an employee for a day is not gonna do it.
Yeah.
Moving garbage collection somewhere else is not gonna do it. You're still gonna collect the same amount of tonnage. It's still gotta go somewhere.
So, let's say that, looking at
If
looking
we
at
can't,
this
if
from-
we can't pass that cost, sorry, my thought, if we can't pass that cost on to the STR directly
Yeah,
for the 2-day-a-week pickup, which is
Right.
where the money is really at for the most part, we're gonna have to share it. That's the way I see it.
My opinion is, if it's gonna save you, the close, say for every day you close the convenience center, it's gonna save you $40,000 a year, then it's not worth it to me.
I agree.
All right, I would rather keep it open, but if it's gonna save us, for every day we close, it's $150,000, well, then, you know, but I don't see that.
I think we're gonna end up with a huge amount of pushback if we
Well,
start closing.
Educate me a little bit, on the commercials that Republic picks up, the town pays Republic?
No, it's an individual contract between Republic and the commercial entity.
Okay.
We have-
So it's totally out of our budget?
Yes, it's not in our budget. We have a franchise agreement with Republic. They don't pay us anything. We do have some costs that aren't articulated in the budget for managing the
Yeah.
hassles.
you know,
But those are in our budget, but those are just in normal salary, day-to-day operations.
I like seeing the numbers, I think it's a good education.
Oh,
You know, what our, because right now, we do
We
not
don't
know
know
what
what
our
we're talking
costs are.
about.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right. So,
yeah, if,
let's
I'm in
just,
favor
let's
of
get
these
some numbers.
Okay. Well, I can tell you that one day a week is about $50,000.
Yeah, and that,
And depending on, how that goes, there may not be much savings at all, because you have to have enough employees to do the 5 days a week. The convenience center, I don't know what that number is far more substantial than that, because I've got, a whole crew of people that manage that. There's really no incremental cost. There's a little bit of electricity. Do you want us to put in selling the equipment into that?
You know, I mean,
That's
this,
arbitrary.
this is, I mean, we're just in the infant stage of this.
Well, you want operational costs,
yeah,
I guess what I'm
operational.
asking.
Correct. Operational
So that'll be
costs.
more substantial because there's substantially more employees. That's where the cost is
Yeah.
in the employees.
So right now, we're picking up garbage twice a week for the whole town, those 2 days?
Yes. Residential.
Residential.
And that was that came about, previous council, when they mandated the beer bins for STRs,
Right.
no STRs at the convenience center, and twice a week pickup because STRs are occupied substantially, more than a single family resident, and they needed the garbage cleaned up before the next rental came in.
Right.
So that's the scenario on how that happened. Okay, so I'll get that to you as soon as we can. Soon. I haven't talked to Steve or Daniel on this, so. So any questions? I need to move to capital, and do you want to take a break?
Lunch is here, you guys
You
want
wanna
to
do
take a break?
working lunch?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do a working.
Yeah,
If the microphones can take the attention.
chief wants to get out of here by 12 o'clock.
I need to make one quick phone.
Mics are on. So, I'm done with operational. If you have any specific questions, I know you haven't had a whole lot of time, and I don't expect you to approve the budget today. So on the operational piece of the budget, if you've got questions specific that you wanted me to answer now, I can. Or in the next several weeks as we get ready for the May meeting, and of course at the May meeting. If there's no more operational issues, I'd like to go to capital. So capital is, well, first of all, I didn't look up, any operational questions? So capital is divided as well into the three funds, the general fund. So we'll go to that first, the general fund capital outlay.
What page are you going to?
I don't know yet.
57. 57?
I'm getting there.
Yeah,
57. So, so this is the summary for the general fund, capital improvement. And if you, it's kind of busy, but if you look at the 2025 column, and at the bottom it equals $882,000. You see that column? I'm asking for $597,000. That's the number all the way up at the top. Transfer from general fund. And that's because we have a number of grants of $285,000. If you come down one more line in the box above where it says grant funding, $285,000, that's predominantly from TDA. So if you add those two together, you come up with the $882,000. Make sense? So the TDA is meeting today, and if they don't approve those grants, as I told you before, we're not going to do those projects. So I'm asking for $597,000 out of fund balance to be added to the operational budget for capital improvement. And this depicts what departments, including recreation, those come out of. So like, so we turn the pages and you'll go to administration, which has no capital requests. You go to the visitor center, there's no capital requests. You get to the police department and we have capital requests, and those are for 2 vehicles and they're upfit predominantly. And then I've got $14,000 of Kevlar vests and a pressure washer for that we're gonna share with the fire department. Because that's a $5,000 expenditure that qualifies as capital. So as we go through this process, if you look at the police department, up at the top, again, transfer from general fund all the way to the top, $139,000. That, and then $15,000 worth of grant funds for $154,000, just like we looked at the general. That $154,000 shows up on page 57 as $154,000 for the police department. So that's how you can, as you go through this, that's how you can see what I'm requesting. So fire department is no capital. Inspections is $45,000. That's a vehicle for the new inspector, code enforcement officer. Vehicle maintenance is $45,000. You can look at their list. And predominantly, these are must-haves. They're not wants. And then if you go to Public Works, and there's a little caveat there, it's $298,000. And you'll see that it's a trash compactor, a sweeper attachment, trash compactor.
What page are you on? What page?
I'm on 72 right now.
Oh, thank you.
I'm sorry. I'm more familiar with it, so I just flick it around.
Do we currently have a road down Lake Ledge this morning, it looked like a bomb went off on it. Do we have a street sweeper attachment
We
for
do,
that?
we do, but that is so low priority today. We lost Wild Daisy last night in that rainstorm.
Uh-huh.
Cut it through, we had to block the road. If you looked at Pine Ridge, the shoulder is completely,
Yep.
that's where we're working today, is trying to get the roads open and fix it, and then we'll come back. What remains on that debris on it's on Lake Ledge, will either get swept off or
Washed off.
washed off.
And did we have any problems at Greenbrier and Lake?
Yes, typical. We didn't lose it.
Okay.
Wild Daisy got the hit. I need to clarify something. If you'll see the salt storage facility, the 160,000 in Public Works, that is not in operations, as I told you before. It's in the CIP. And then an $80,000 expenditure for a truck. If you'll go down, if you'll find 3/4 of the way down the page, a $220,000 for next year in the 26 column
Right.
for a 2-ton dump truck. That was requested for this year by the department head. I moved it one more year to get the budget within reason. That is an absolute critical need. Here's the issue. If you were to approve that, and we ordered it June 30th, July 1st, when the budget became available, we don't reasonably think we can take delivery in a budget year. So it made it easy for me to move it. But understand that then next year becomes a critical component. It'll take a year to get that truck. It'll put us 2 years down.
Yeah, but how can we get you to order it now so you have it in the 25 budget?
Well,
Or 26 budget?
you can tell me to do that and you'll budget it next year,
Right.
like we did the fire truck. But this is a critical need from the department head, and I moved it out because I couldn't justify the cost in the budget. More importantly, we wouldn't expend the dollars in this budget, so why take the hit on the budget and not be able to expend it? But this truck has to be bought, and it will need to, more importantly, it will have to be paid for next year. So I would like to order it in the 25 budget year, but that requires your approval, and pay for it in the 26 budget.
Well, I'm sure there'd be a down payment you'd have to make on ordering it, or?
Typically not. Steve, do we make a down payment on, I don't think so.
Oh, okay, then get it ordered.
So I wanted to have that discussion with you. If you're inclined to do the 597, as I'm requesting and depicted here, I would like, when we pass the budget, to have that 220 allocated for 26 in the budget, but I need permission to order it in the 25 budget year.
Can we do that? We can allocate funds for next year's budget
No.
now?
You can't allocate the funds. You can tell me to order it, and it will be paid for in 26 when it's received. Steve, you got an opinion on that?
Well, you're not expending anything until 26. But it does kind of lock you in.
That's what we did with the fire truck, wasn't it, chief?
Now, we can put it in a capital budget, project budget of its own. And that, that would solve everything. I mean, we can do that. That means opening up a capital, not capital project.
Be an ordinance?
Yeah.
So you've passed some of those before, where we do a capital project ordinance.
What's cleaner?
The board's not gonna change. I mean, with the fire truck, you kind of have this with the company, the contract you sign with the company that is building the fire truck. If you cancel that fire truck, you got a hefty penalty check. So nobody's canceling the fire truck. This truck's not the same. Technically, very technically, capital budget ordinance would be appropriate for something.
That would be easy to do,
And it,
if that's what you want.
If that's the council's we can do that.
I suggest we put it on the next agenda.
Yeah, I think it's just cleaner that way, it seems
Yeah.
like to me, that way you don't have to worry about it if I suddenly drop off the council or.
Well,
whatever,
no,
you know.
It's just like taking on debt.
but we haven't had the discussion, and that's why I had to have that discussion today, is that what you wanna do? I've pushed it out to get the budget better in line, understanding that I'm gonna buy it, have to buy it.
Well, yeah, you have to do it, and that's,
I mean, even if, why put it in this year's budget when you're not gonna get it this year? So, but make sure we get it next year.
Well, to encumber the funds,
Yeah.
and that's what Steve's saying, if you encumber it with with an ordinance, we don't have to show it and transfer it at the end of the year. Basically, what would happen, if you went with, the 800, whatever it is, if you added this to the capital improvement, this would be a transfer at the end of the year, end of the 25 budget into the 26 budget. We'd have to, it'd be a positive number, so.
I say put it on the agenda, but don't put it on the consent agenda.
Okay.
can I ask this question? Have we made sure we can't get a hold of one? Because, sometimes you get lucky and some dealer's got one sitting somewhere.
The last truck we purchased took 18 months.
Year and a half.
It's been very difficult for a new truck.
I think it's a lot less today than it was 3-4 years ago. I know, because I just ordered some moving trucks.
Yeah, that's what
They
I
were a
wonder
year
is,
and a half out, and now they're 9 months out.
Yeah.
do we need to have that conversation and see if we do need to go ahead and
Sure.
fund it? Because if you could get it this year, it sounds like you'd rather have it this year.
Yeah, we'll do that. I'm basing on what Public Works had told me about the truck and that type of thing.
And I know you're trying to keep it out of the budget, so you
I
gotta,
am.
make the budget work better. There we go again.
All right, any questions on general fund, capital? Utility fund, capital? I'm looking at my thing. You have a tab?
When are we gonna get to the, what we're gonna do with the old public works facility?
I already did that.
Huh?
I already did that.
The old public works facility?
Yeah.
You budgeted, if you pass this, we budget $160,000 to go procure land and a site and design for another remote salt storage public works facility, and we're not going to.
I heard about the salt storage, but we're talking about public works, I don't know.
I did
Somehow
that at
I
like
missed
10
it.
o'clock.
Sorry.
It's in my notes. I did that, right?
Yeah.
I heard.
Okay.
That's why you're taking that phone call.
I was doing something.
So, well, let's make sure we're clear.
Yeah.
We're not, I'm putting no money in to renovate that building, none. So it's gonna stand there the way it is, we'll maintain it, but we're not gonna renovate it, and we're gonna seek a site and a design for a remote salt storage, public works staging area.
So, in relation to that, last Thursday, we hosted the governors, or Wednesday, last one, whatever, what day,
Last Wednesday.
Wednesday or Thursday. It was a big deal for Beach Mountain. We didn't know the positive impact that this was gonna have on Beach Mountain. And so the governor's cabinet had about 10 people that attended this meeting. And a few of the council members, Allen and Stanford were there. And probably out of the 10 people, we had a gentleman that was head of DOT for Western North Carolina. He was able to see firsthand some of the issues that we've been faced with when he left, and when we had a conversation about some of our holdups and issues and things we can't get done. He was able to, when he left Beach Mountain, he was able to visibly see this, what we were talking about. It wasn't like sending an email and say, hey, this is a problem. He first said he saw it. And he recognized it and said that there was going to be some changes. So, that's the entrance of our mountain. And then we also, there's a lot of issues coming up 194. I think we're going to see a big change here in the next few months. Also, out of the 10 people, maybe 7 of them were grant writers. And they were like, we write grants for, healthcare, we write grants for tearing buildings down. And when they said tearing buildings down, you know, we automatically thought about either the old public works facility. So, and I'm just, Kelly wasn't there and you weren't there, and I don't know if you've heard about the meeting, but I know I wasn't expecting the horsepower that came to that meeting, and it was very enlightening. So I think, well, I feel confident that we made big strides in additional funding that's going to be brought to Beach Mountain.
Yeah, well, we'll see if it pays off.
So we were told that there were funds available, and quote unquote, we need jobs that you're seeking that are shovel ready, and that's what we're working on now. That's what I think public,
The problem with that is that, well, two things. This is the Governor Cooper's cabinet, gone in November. So they have money that they haven't spent that needs to be spent before they leave. So they're looking for like really shovel ready, and the problem with the old public works is it's full. You know, I can tear it down, but then where do I put everything? So we're trying, I met with Daniel, and we're trying to come up with some shovel-ready projects that will assist us there to get some money out of that. So yeah, you're correct. It was a good, well worth the 2 hours, 3 hours we spent there.
I just didn't have only 24 hours notice to go to the meeting. I just couldn't arrange things.
All right, let's go from the general fund to water capital, page 97. It's the same format. This comes out of the water enterprise fund, does not come out of the general fund. And it's a summary. And typically this is funded, we can fund this. And these are the items that really have to be done. So we've got, if you look halfway down, $20,000 on infill and inflow. That's specific to rainwater that's getting into our system. Fire hydrant repairs, meter replacement is a big chunk of money. Taps, new taps. These are not the service line replacements that we have. It's new taps. Wastewater, we're looking for a $60,000. You can turn the page and see what that is. And water maintenance at $100,000. So it's totals $399,250, and that's available in the capital funding of the utility.
Quick point of clarification, when the Tapson system, it's 60,000 for 25 and then jumps to 295 for 26. I mean, again, 26 is always subject to the budget, but why does it jump that high?
I don't know.
And then 650 and 27.
I think, do you know, Steve? What did Daniel have? He did tell me.
So in taps in 26, there's a $200,000 steps. 200, there's a dump right there. Is the 80.
Oh, so that's where the dump truck's going?
No,
It's a different dump.
different dump truck.
Get them cheaper, you order two?
You probably can. I think they're different.
Ah,
One's to haul sludge. Does that answer the question?
if that's what it is, yeah, sure.
Well, I'm looking at it in 26. Yeah, there's and then in 27, there's a 650,000 for a vac truck.
Oh, for another.
If you'll turn to page 104. And if you look at the column for 26 and go to the 200,000, big item.
Yeah,
That's the Freightliner dump.
right.
And then if you go one column over to 27, you'll see the 650 for the
Back truck,
back
yeah.
truck.
Okay.
So that would explain those
Yeah,
increases.
thank you.
All right, the last fund is sanitation on, it begins on page 107, expenditures and revenues. We've had quite a discussion on that. We'll work on that. The capital is on page 111. It's $305,000. And Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, our discussion was that if this CIP gets approved, we'll combine those large vehicle purchases into debt. And so the actual dollar amount budget-wise will be less because we'll convert it to debt. Correct, Steve?
We hope that the opportunity to fund some of these through debt will occur, even though a lot of talk about interest rates coming down, maybe in the last part of 24, who knows, but, yeah. That hopefully.
So the point is, if Steve can get us a good rate, like he has always in the past, really good rate, he's under the gun now. And that was his way of saying, things have changed. You may not see this if you approve it, when we purchase it, you may see it converted to debt as opposed to an expenditure. And that would go for all three funds. We'll combine those together. So that does capital. And what I'd like to know, I think I'm pretty clear, but the 597, is that acceptable to go from fund balance into the general fund?
And you said that takes us down to 52%?
I'm good with it.
It'll be less than 52, won't be lower than 50.
I'm good with it.
I'm fine with,
Yeah.
Okay. And doing a budget project for the truck for Public Works for the future in 26 is acceptable, we'll do
Yes.
that.
Yes.
What else do we need? Questions?
Can you let us know today, or as soon as possible, about the TDA, the funds?
Yeah.
Will you know today?
Yeah, can you call Armando?
are they finished? Oh,
I'm sure they're done.
Thank you, Steve.
Armando knows, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't need a Buckeye today.
Public Works. They had a Zoom meeting with their social media advertising group, Pineapple. So,
Has the rec center AC heat unit, is that in the works?
yes, yeah, that contract's been let. I believe first week of May, they're scheduled to begin demolition and installation. It had to be paid for by June 30. So that was their direction, get it done and get it invoiced, tested, and approved by June 30th. Because we've got to put it on the books for this budget.
How does the TDA funds work with town projects like that? Does the town pay and TDA reimburses the town, or?
We used to, until we didn't get reimbursed. So now we transfer the funds and do the project.
Okay, so you're sitting on the funds before the
So
budget.
Steve is the finance director by law, by statute for the TDA, as well as for the town. TDA votes and appropriately approves the expenditure. He transfers the funds to the town, and then we do the project.
So let me just do this, call Armando,
Tell us.
he said he was writing an email about this, so.
Is it bad news?
No.
Oh.
That's what I was thinking.
I'll send an email.
Yeah.
He said they did funds and stuff. I don't know exactly what.
So some of the things that the TDA was asked to fund will have an impact on the general fund budget. We asked them to fund up to around $100,000 for lawn maintenance. If they approve that, that will come off of your operation. It'll show revenue.
You wanna let him know he's on speakerphone?
Do what?
You wanna let him know he's on speakerphone?
He knows he's on.
And a public meeting.
I don't know if he's off the camera.
Okay, so, yeah, basically we just went to the TDA meeting and they discussed the various projects for funding and they funded about roughly $370,000. Funded 110 as requested for landscaping and grass cutting. 15,000 for the traffic and transportation study. 12,000 for the traffic equipment, the car counter at both roads, the back road and the main road. 15,000 for the public safety portable signage. 15,000 extra for flowers and plant and beautification of the mountain,
Nice.
other than grass cutting. 5,000 for trail maintenance. 17,500 for equipment for grooming the sledding hill. 52,000 for a skid steer. 8,600 for a boat launch at Buckeye Lake. 20,000 extra for more Christmas lights expansion.
Nice.
And another 110,000 to resurface the playground at Buckeye Rec Center. Now they do understand that some of these projects are contingent on town council approval, but they are committing to those figures.
So it sounds like most projects got approved. What didn't get approved, Armando?
The only thing that did not get approved, just one project that it was not, that it wasn't approved, it was tabled, was a pavilion at Shane Park and some electrical. Fred felt that that required more discussion from the Parks and Rec Committee, that the Parks and Rec Committee had not had an opportunity to discuss that project with Sean, as he felt was important in keeping with the spirit of Dr. Shane. And so at Fred's request, they tabled that project. Everything else was approved.
What was the price tag on that project?
The price tag on that project is $47,000.
Okay. Anyone have any questions?
They'll revisit that as needed once there's further discussion, I guess, within the Parks and Rec Committee, and if it's a project that again is approved by town council as a project to move forward with.
Armando, this is Bob. I was writing quicker than, or slower than you talk. Halfway down in your list, 17,500 after trails. What was that for?
That
Sled hill.
15,500 was for the sledding hill
Groomer?
grooming equipment.
All right.
And I've written it out on an email that I was about to send to you when Steve called me, so you'll have it right.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
It sounds like pretty,
You guys have fun in your budget.
We are.
sounds like a pretty good,
Yeah.
pretty good day for Beach Mountain and the
So-
taxpayers.
So that 370,000, most of that will come, is already shown in your revenue as a grant on the capital. You'll see the grant number. They've funded some extra things which will have to include that additional. But pretty much, the big one for me is the grass mowing. That will come right off the general fund. Well, it'll be a revenue, but it'll free up about $110,000 that we use for police overtime. We're going to bring you next month a budget adjustment, to reflect the overtime during the winter storms and the salt purchase. So that will also change your final numbers as well.
You know, I made a statement, I think last council meeting prior, is that we need to reach outside of Beach Mountain and, you know, versus just staying confined to Beach Mountain. And this grass cutting idea, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, we met, I haven't been involved in TDA. I believe in letting these committees kind of do their own thing. And however, to hear about the amount of money that TDA has, in their kitty, and things that they should be paying for, that the taxpayers are paying for. So we met with another town, met with the mayor and their TDA director. And this other town spends, I think, over $200,000 on their grass cutting beautification. So that idea came from us reaching out as a team, us reaching out to another city and asking them, what do you guys do with your TDA, your funding, et cetera. That's why I think it's important that we continue to work with other municipalities and see what they're doing. And in our mayor's meeting, it's just been between One Rock and Boone, and we have invited some other municipalities that are in this area, and we're going to invite maybe someone from Asheville or Hickory, even though that their demographics are different than what we do. Still, something they may share with us. We may be able to apply some or part of it to what we do up here. So I'm glad to hear about the grass cutting.
Yep, that's good.
And I would just add to that if we're doing that, and we should also let our TDA know that we're, doing these adventures together, and then let them get some additional ideas, to give them more confidence in what they do on the TDA.
So it was kind of, for me, it was an education, and we did have a TDA member that was present.
Okay.
That was new, and it was an education to them.
Okay, great.
They still have a lot of money.
Huh?
They still have a lot of money.
Oh, yeah, we're not finished yet.
Well, and Steve attended their meeting this morning, gave the financial report, and the occupancy tax is still running extremely strong. You'll see in your monthly report. And there's a discussion at the TDA level on, why is that happening? Because they believe that it's declining. But the numbers are, as well, occupancy tax as well as sales tax is still at high levels. And eventually that's got to stop. But, we've suffered the consequences of a number of years of high occupancy. And so to get some of the funding back to help us out is a big deal. Mayor and Council, that I'm done for my presentation. If you've got questions that Steve and I can answer. We've got our marching orders, and the next time you'll see this publicly will be May 14th. We'll get it to you before your packet, so that you can take a look at it. Between now and then, or you get another iteration of this, if you go through this, you have questions, call myself or Steve. Steve knows it better than I do, and we'll go through it and answer any questions you've got.
On the May 14th meeting, will it be a public meeting about the budget, or is that for the June 13th?
No, the May, it's a first time the public gets to officially see it, so you should anticipate.
But is that at the council meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
and you should anticipate having some people discuss it or talk to you about it.
Yeah.
So the public really they could have been here today.
Right.
Well, the public is here.
Thank you, public.
So officially, we provide twice what the law requires, the May and the June, plus today, plus the two that we've already met. So, there's quite an opportunity, but you should expect, because we haven't had it out to the public until you saw what you've got, they'll see this, and you should expect on the 14th to have some comments and some questions. And we'll have a clean copy with the information that you gave us today to you a week before that meeting.
My last question, the 1.2 million for paving. I mean, we already know that the Tamarack and Charter Hills is in this year's budget, not next. Has anything been allocated towards that 1.2? Is that something that could be shared? You don't have to?
I prefer not to.
That's fine.
Here's what happens. I say it's these 3 roads, and then everyone calls me, what about my road?
Yeah.
So we got prices, and we know what roads on our road. We have an engineer's report, and we have a road study that tells us which ones should be repaired to what level, and we're following that. I'd be more than happy to share that with you each individually.
That's fine. As long as wintergreen's on there, I have no problem.
We all know Slimmer.
That'll be done.
Yeah.
We're finishing up there this week, and it should be ready to be repaved.
Is that still on for May 1?
Yeah.
Ish.
So that project, just so you know, maybe I told you this, I think I did. We're having to mill it
Yeah.
because it's got so much pavement on it. And then we were able to take the millings, purchase them at a discount to use in our new laydown yard off the parkway at the tanks. So it's a win-win.
I know they charge you for that.
Well, you know, they can recycle it and
Yeah.
make asphalt.
Like that big pile next to the.
So the fact that they don't have to haul it, and it's, you know, so we got a good deal, and we need it as a base for our laydown yard, so it worked out really well.
Are we taking 100% of it?
Yes.
That's good.
So the treatment plant that has issues, I know that you don't know the cost yet of what it's gonna take, because we don't know what it's going to take to actually make those repairs. Does that come out of the rainy day fund or the,
No, it'll come out of the sanitate or the water and sewer fund,
okay,
the enterprise fund, come out of fund balance there. We did secure a contractor. He's working, that agreed to do it, and he's working up a quote.
okay.
So we'll have a much better idea of what the initial cost is going to be. The quote's going to be, I'll mobilize, bypass pump, get the tank empty, and go see what's broke. And then the repair will be an additional cost, but we've got a contractor that's agreed to do that, giving us a cost.
And it's only one contractor, so he's,
It's only, find one,
where'd he come out of?
West Jefferson.
Not too
It's,
bad.
it's Iron Mountain, they're in West Jefferson.
Mountain City.
Oh, Iron Mountain, they've been up here enough.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, I do have drone footage if you want it.
Oh, yeah, let me have that. Would you like to see your drone footage of Ski Loft?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
And would you like an update on Ski Loft? So we're what, 17 days into the project, and it's going really well.
do they have any roofers up there?
Yeah. Let's see if I can make this work. So I asked, there's a routine drone surveillance up there, and I asked for something that I could look for myself and show you. So let's see if I can make it work. So I really don't know what we're looking at. That's Ski Loft in a house, and that is one of the light towers.
The light towers are visible at night.
They sure are.
Yes, they are.
I said, what is ski slope lights on for?
So as you can see, the drone flies pretty low. I'd like to narrate it for you, but I have no idea what I'm looking at.
Where's Gary? Let him narrate it for us.
Tim probably can.
What they're interested in is, and they look at each house and they're trying to see if anything's been damaged, broken into, things like that. Let me speed this up.
Yeah.
I assume he goes house to house.
That's a nice deck on that house.
Is it?
Yeah, I put it on there.
Say, it looks like it's leaning. Need to send the new code enforcement
That was
officer
one of
over
my
there.
decks. Actually, that deck was the one that collapsed under the ice.
Oh, was that the gondola one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tim, did you fly this yet?
Not yet.
I'm amazed at how steady it is and how,
No, it's great for us, don't do it.
Does it carry ammunition?
it's classified.
He can drop firecrackers.
Pepper balls, man, pepper balls.
So I was hoping we could find some
Construction.
work that's been done. but that's not their purpose.
Yeah. I have seen some people up there walking dogs.
Yeah, we've had some trespassers.
Yeah.
There's a nice roof right there.
Yeah.
Partial.
Half one.
Partial roof. I know the walls are down, all the retaining walls are down. Met with Mike Eggers, Monday, I think.
Saw him working in the rain last week.
Yeah, so did I.
He said when it snowed, he decided to leave.
I saw some folks working in the snow.
Did you?
I tell you, you know if Mike's on the job, it's gonna get done.
Amen.
That's some work.
There you go.
There you go.
You said they were gonna start
Let's
to
stop
stop.
that. So that whole corner's gone.
Yeah.
I'm looking up here. So this equipment here, Riley helped me out. They're making taps to the 8-inch line. There's an 8-inch that comes down the ski slope and a 6. We're abandoning the 6, and they're having to tie in those fire hydrants so that we have fire protection during the project. Is that correct, Riley?
That's where I am. Are they tying those in to the existing hydrants? Or are they,
Temporarily, yes.
Okay.
There's new hydrants all the way around. Had to get the Chamber of Commerce shot here.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, looks like a drone was a good investment.
I think so.
Yeah. Just to be able to do this from Riley's office. You know.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
which will overlay PIC?
I'll get him to get us a update on the project.
Did you just zoom that or did it?
No, I'm not doing.
He was. Gee, a track over a hammer on it. Surprised.
All right, so that's it. Thank you, Riley.
Thanks. I wanted to mention this function we're having at our home June 1st again. I hope the council can attend June 1st, 1 o'clock. Since you guys are familiar with the training up here at the park, I was given permission by Brian Barnes to park over at the Alton House or the Winter
Ski
Winter
Lodge.
Ski Lodge. So you guys can make it. I think we're going to have a pretty good showing. People from One Rock and Boone, some from Bosco. Tim, you got any? You got anything you'd like to say?
A lot.
Okay.
No,
Email it.
give me some hydrants fixed
Okay.
and replaced.
Okay.
I'm getting ready to start testing again next week, and it's the same ones, 10% of our system is down.
Okay.
It needs to be taken care
We'll take note. Thank you. Thank you for
of. I
attending.
talked to the fire chief about that.
So I hope you guys can make it. I think we're going to have a good show of our local, state, and federal politicians. We will have, I know 2 to 3 U.S. congressmen there, and I'm going to take this opportunity to show off Beach Mountain. And I think, we need to show some unity. If you guys could show up, it would be appreciated. And then I guess if we do that, then we need to advertise that all the council could potentially be together. I mean, it's a social function,
I will do that.
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
so.
But it is Robert and Gail's, it's Gail's 90th birthday.
Yeah, but that's not till 4 o'clock. This is at 1 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna be a long day.
We'll notice it, but it will say a potential quorum and no town business will be conducted.
Yes.
All right, so just be aware of that type of notification.
I mean, the other thing is, the employee lunch, the council is also
Oh, yeah.
invited to, which is
Third,
May
3rd,
May 3rd.
May 3rd, down at the rec center.
We've not previously advertised that as a potential forum.
We can.
I think we should. I
We'd
was
like- we'd
told
like
to
you-
invite everybody.
I would like you all to be there
Yeah.
and say hi to the employees.
I think it's good for the employees to see us
Yep.
there.
We'll notice that as well.
And sitting with you guys once a month is enough, so I'm not sitting there for much. Anyone have any questions? Comments?
Thank you, Bob.
Yes, thank you.
Steve.
Good job.
Thank you,
Thank
Chief.
you, Phil.
Steve does all the work.
We'll,
Thank you, Steve.
we will adjourn this meeting.
Need a vote.
All right.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.